Hello world, welcome to Thoughts with an Accent. And here we talk about life in the modern world, how we humans think and behave in today's reality, and why. Hi guys, it's great to see you again. Welcome back. As you may have noticed, I've taken a little break. We had Easter holidays, 2 weeks with all the kids at home, both kids, not all the kids, both kids at home, a lot of things to do. And yeah, I was just, normally before, I would have been quite harsh on myself and feel really guilty for taking some time off certain projects. But with time, I guess I've learned to not be so harsh on myself and kind of, just take things as they come. So yeah, I took a little break. I went to see my friend in Serbia, which was a nice little change of scenery. And then when I came back, I ended up updating the OS on my Mac. And of course, something happened and it completely messed up the microphone settings. So I ended up recording something and it'd been so messy and just not working. And I got really frustrated. So yeah, good to be back with hopefully some more interesting topics. And without further ado, let's dive into it. So today I will be talking about something that matters a lot to me. It's one of my most important values, I guess. It's learning. I am that kind of person who loves learning. I know I will be learning something all my life. I'll be one of those grandmas who takes courses and goes to classes and just enjoys the environment and the process of learning. I spent quite a lot of years working in education, being a teacher. So yeah, this is something that has been with me and will always stay with me from different perspectives, I guess. And today I wanted to talk about us as adult learners, because I think we've all noticed that life is changing, the technology is changing, and we're having to learn a lot more than maybe generations before us. But even then, so my mum is an accountant, and she witnessed the introduction of all those computers and specific accounting software. Because when she started, there was none of that. They were doing things more manually. There were some machines for that, which I have no idea what they're called, but she had to learn her IT skills from scratch. It was quite, a leap to have taken, but there we go. You want to stay relevant. You want to have your skills applicable to the reality, so you have to learn. And now things happen so quickly, we have to stay on top of that. And we do learn a lot. And even if we're not talking about professional setting, acquiring a new skill can be really enjoyable, even if it's a hobby, even if it's something that, you may find therapeutic. Learning that can improve your life. And knowing a bit more about yourself as an adult learner maybe can help you feel better. So the way I'd like to do it today is to go through some features. There will be nothing particularly scientific here, but I'd like to go through some features of adult learning as opposed to learning in kids. And yeah, we'll discuss that. And one of the most important features of adult learning is self-directedness. We are more autonomous. We take more responsibility for our learning process. We know our motivation, our interests, our needs, and that helps us direct the learning process, whether you are learning a new skill for your job, for your promotion, whether you're learning a new hobby. You know what exactly you need from it. So your main takeaways, as that really helps create your own path. A lot of educational programs, courses, whatsoever, they are created for a wide range of people. It's really hard. You can get sort of the tailored individual learning programs, but the vast majority of what's out there is created for, let's say, everyone, which means it can't really be just the information that you need. As an adult learner, you pick out what suits your interests, your goals, your objectives, and sort of tailor it to yourself. If you work as an educator with adults, you also need to keep that in mind and maybe help your students see those, how the course or the program can be unpacked for them to use it better. Another important feature of adult learning is that it's experience-based. We approach it already having had some work experience, some educational experience, some cultural and intercultural experience. So we learn best when every piece of new information that comes in can be connected with what we learned before or somehow positioned against it. I remember when I was teaching and I did a CELTA course, if you're familiar with teaching English as a foreign language, is the certificate, Cambridge certificate that you get, and you could teach English across the world. So that was a very intensive course. But then when you go for the diploma, a few years, I did 5 years after, the first thing that they said was forget what you learned before. And when our tutor told us that, we knew that the new experience and information that we're about to receive should be placed separately. So we should not always look for tight connections, but maybe sometimes compare and contrast new information against our own previous experience. So it's not always about building new skills and new knowledge on top of what's already there, but kind of creating connections. Is it the same? Is it completely opposite, but where it stands according to what we've already learned? I hope that makes sense. When I talk about learning, I can get carried away. So I hope that makes sense. And yeah, if you're an educator, if you're an instructor that works with adults, help them see how that fits into their previous experience. Another thing that adults look for in their learning process is relevance. It is connected to their interests and motivation. If I don't need something, if it's not relevant to me, I probably won't pick up or won't retain that information. As adults, we want to learn and apply things straight away. I guess partly kids become like that maybe in high school. I remember myself in high school learning algebra and thinking, what is this? I was good at maths, but I just wanted to understand how functions can be found in real life, and I couldn't. So that application left me a bit confused and puzzled, even though I could perfectly do all the tasks that the teacher was asking us to do. For us as adults, relevance and immediate applicability is really important. And if you're an educator, sometimes saying, oh, wait for it, you will understand it at the end of the course, maybe change your angle a little bit and help your learners see how even those smaller bits of information that they're receiving at the beginning of your lesson, at the beginning of the course, how they can introduce that into their activity straight away. With that can come some sort of practicality as a trait of adult learning. I'm not saying that all adult learners are like that, but as we grow in our experience, we want things to be practical. Whatever we learn, we want to use them. And yes, it is connected with the applicability, and it needs to be something we can benefit from. I mean, sometimes practicality could be, I guess, the improvement of your mental state. For example, you want to learn a particular type of dance because the satisfaction that comes with it can really improve your emotional state. I guess that could be a practicality as well. Let me know if you are learning a skill that's not practical on the surface, but really brings you benefit, maybe in a more sort of indirect way. I think for me, it's definitely dancing. No direct practicality. It's not like I come home and I just, dance. I do dance in my kitchen, don't judge. But there's no practicality to it. But the practicality is that it improves my emotional state, my mood, and helps me start the week on a happy note. Another feature of adult learning is that it's collaborative. If you've noticed the difference, for example, between business school students, if they're doing their bachelor's or their master's straight after bachelor's, and say MBA students who are taking the course after years and years of business experience. So what they do, they collaborate a lot. They, as we've discussed, they bring their personal experience, their personal professional experience into the learning process. They base a lot of that on it. They pick out what's practical for them, for their role. And also they collaborate a lot. They network, they share the perspectives on the same question from different industries. And that helps them, all of them, learn from each other and see an issue or a problem from all different sides. When I was in my master's, I was doing master's in my 30s, while I'm still in my 30s. We had a group of students with a lot of different backgrounds, and we were of different age. I'd say the age was probably between, 20 to 23 up to mid 30s. So that sort of span allowed us to actually show that the same problem can be assessed from different sides, different ways. And sometimes you think, there is only one way of looking at it, purely academic. But no, that type of collaboration really can enrich any learning experience. If you're an educator, it's a good thing to consider, because if you want to make your educational program more valuable, I guess, have more flavor, let's say, it's important to pick people who could contribute to that, and it increases their motivation. So it's a win-win. From a more practical side, we can say that adult learning often has time limitations, or people have other commitments. They can't just dive into this particular learning process or the course or the program and focus just on that. We have all sorts of commitments: family, home, employment. And when you approach, if you're planning to learn something, to go study, to go back to school, or if you're teaching people who have a lot of other commitments, it's important to consider that. You can't just make people feel guilty for, let's say, not doing their homework, or you can't just feel guilty because you don't have time for your homework. It's important to recognize that straight away. And maybe if you're an educator, design your program so that it's flexible and it allows people to maybe step aside if there's an emergency and deal with that, and then come back, and there is an easy way to click back into the course. If you are an adult learner, it's important to create that for yourself. And even if your course is not particularly flexible, you need to create that flexibility in your own mind, in your own time, and accept that it's not going to be, when we are perfectionists, we want like all the boxes ticked in the correct order, preferably. But when you're an adult learner, you have a lot of other commitments. You can't expect that from yourself. So to avoid maybe frustration, to avoid lack of motivation that can come with it, make sure that flexibility is a big part of your learning process. Another thing that might not be on the surface, but is really important, is how we deal with errors and how we perceive instruction. So I worked with adults a lot, and what sometimes educators maybe forget, or maybe some educators, due to their lack of experience, they just do not implement, or they are not aware of that, is that adults too, just like kids, can be nervous about making mistakes, sometimes even more than kids. Because for us as adults, making errors can be seen as a failure, as a sign of, I don't know, lower level of intelligence, incompetence, whatnot. We can be really critical towards ourselves. And it's important to create a safe environment where people can make mistakes, where they can learn from that, where maybe they don't have to ask too many questions. I'll try to explain what I mean. Sometimes, again, it can depend on previous educational experience, previous cultural experience. Sometimes adults hesitate to ask questions. You know, they don't want to seem stupid. They don't want to let others know, if it's a group learning environment, that they did not understand something. A lot of you might be watching this now and thinking, I think all adults can ask questions. Well, no, it's not the case. Depends. I grew up in an environment where asking questions could make you look stupid. So it took me a while to actually learn and feel more relaxed about it. I had that fear that, oh, what if my question is stupid? And what if it's not, it's like completely off the track of the lesson? But then it's your question. This is something that you are curious about. This is something that you want to know that is somehow connected with the class. And yes, your professor, your teacher, your instructor is there to help you. And then it doesn't have to be an academic environment. Let's say sports or physical activity, a gym. If you're joining a new gym, recently we were talking about it with some friends, that even adults, when they join a new gym, it's very easy for them to feel a little bit stupid if they're not helped, to ease into that process. Even adults with previous exercising experience can feel nervous or maybe unwelcome, and they start kind of closing up and they don't want to continue. There is a gym here in Cardiff, one of the gyms that I joined, and it wasn't very welcoming. So I ended up going there once, joining a class, and the instructor was quite dismissive, kind of just, let me do my own thing, did not control my technique, did not help me and direct me, how the routine works. And it was a group class. You might think, oh, grown-ups, they are responsible, they should be independent, but let's not forget that we also bounce off other people in the group, we bounce off society, and it can be really hard to allow yourself to fail in front of others or to seem odd, stupid. So if you are learning, please create that for yourself, create that environment, that space where you can and will make errors, where you can fail, and praise yourself for that. It's a brave thing to do. It's a part of any learning. We can't learn without errors, and just embrace it. And if you're an educator, if you're an instructor in any industry, remember that adults are terrified of failing, of making errors, sometimes of asking questions that they think might be stupid. So be open, approach them, double check, and it will be more enjoyable for everybody involved. So this is all I have for you for today. Hopefully you found it useful. Maybe you could relate to some of these aspects of adult learning. Please let me know in the comments what you think. Maybe share some of your stories of learning something, a skill, or I don't know, getting a qualification, how it felt. And share your tips of effective learning as an adult. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to tune in for the next episode.